Good evening. Hey, Jamie, how are you?
Hey, Chad, I'm great. What's going on?
Oh, it's another Tuesday night, and we're here with our fans and talking about some paranormal stuff. So,
All right, yeah, our tens and tens of fans. Yay! Love you guys.
So on that note, I want to say thank you to our fans who are watching now and who will be watching later, who couldn't join the live, but we do appreciate everybody out there who jumps on even for a minute or two. Yeah. So thank you for that. So yeah, what'd you do this weekend, Jamie?
I'm like an old dude, so nothing, the usual household chores and running errands and all that fun stuff. You had a much more fun weekend than I did, so maybe I should ask you what you did this weekend.
Well, I jumped in a car and drove for 5 hours and visited our friend Kelly Miller. I saw her on the way up.
Oh, cool.
Stopped in Selinsgrove and saw Kelly and had lunch with her.
Awesome.
Then from there, I drove up to Olean, New York, and checked in my hotel. And from there, I went over to the Hinsdale house, did an investigation at the Hinsdale house. Had a good evening there, bopped around Olean, and actually went up to Salamanca on Saturday then, and spent the day there, and then investigated another place. So it was an interesting weekend. I had a good time. So
you got your frequent driver miles in.
Yep, 10 hours on the road, and I was lucky. All my roads were paved.
Well, until you got to Hinsdale, at least.
Well, yeah. Some of the team, Jerry and Melissa, hit several roads that were unpaved, and they looked like they had been mud bogging until they got to the Hinsdale house. So,
I got to tell you this real quick. It's a quick aside. I took a trip up to Vermont a couple summers ago, and I had some car trouble on the way, my own fault kind of thing, and put us behind about 2 or 3 hours actually. And now it's dark, it's late, and the navigation took me a way I wasn't expecting to go. And next thing you know, it's like turn left here, turn right there. We keep getting more and more rural, which is fine because Vermont's kind of rural. But all of a sudden, the next left turn put me on a dirt road there was nothing on it. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to start hearing banjos. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. And then I realized that, and I have my brights on and everything. And it's a while for this. It's like 10 minutes down this road. And I'm like, where am I? And all of a sudden I realized there were power lines following the road. I'm like, oh, we're going to come out in civilization, because they don't run power lines to like dead ends.
Right.
And sure enough, popped out onto the right next to the highway that, was where I expected to kind of be. And then, a little bit later I was there. So it's amazing to me how there are so many rural places still where dirt roads exist with all of us populated and, especially the East Coast, everybody's packed in. Mm-hmm. How it's so crazy that we still have unpaved or dirt roads out there.
Yep. So, well, next week when we have everybody on, hopefully we'll have everybody on. You'll have to ask Jerry and Melissa about their drive
they got there
and their drive back, because they managed to hit them both ways. So
wow.
So
all right.
Anyway, so but this week we're going to talk about Wildwood Sanitarium. Give a little bit of history about it. I got to do a day tour of it, so I got to walk around and take pictures. It was me and the owner, so I had sort of free range of the place. So
private tour, that's awesome.
Yeah. So let me jump into the history, and then we'll go through pictures, and I'll tell you what I know, and you can ask questions, and we can go from there.
Yeah, go right ahead. Let's get it.
All right. So the Wildwood Sanitarium is in Salamanca, New York. It's a very interesting old building. Early records are hard to find. Official records from the courthouse say it was constructed in 1900, but that seems to be just a general stamp note, like we don't know when, so 1900 is the date. Current renovations point to things that may date it to an earlier time, such as gas lighting and square nails. Another thing that makes researching the beginning history of the building difficult is the fact that Salamanca is the current name of the town, but the area was known as Wildwood and also Great Valley at different times. There were several small villages that dotted both banks of the Allegheny River. At some point, all of them were absorbed into what is currently known as Salamanca, which happens a lot with those small towns and things like that. And there's a picture of the building, the current building, and what it looks like now. In the early 1900s,
Can you go back to that?
Yeah, yep.
This just a quick aside to this, but this looks like the quintessential haunted house, right? It's like there should be like lightning bolts going across the sky over it, and this fog hanging around the bottom.
Right. While I was there by myself, because once I said I was with a paranormal team coming tonight, the woman was like, "Oh, well then you can take the key and you can stay." So while when she left, a thunderstorm rolled in, so I'm in this haunted house by myself with thunder and lightning striking. It was really interesting. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So jumping ahead,
people would love that, like live for that moment. So
it wasn't bad. It was just it was just a little like ooh. So in the early 1900s, two men attending the American School of Osteopathy in Kirkwood, Missouri, met and became friends. In 1903, Dr. John Henderson and Dr. Carol Perry purchased a property at 71 Prospect Street in what is now known as Salamanca. In the years between 1903 and 1906, the doctors worked to get the property set up as a sanitarium. That word is used different ways, different times throughout history in English and England and all sorts of things. It opened in 1906, promising osteopathic care. A sign from 1909 on the property reads, "The sanitarium and bathhouse is now open for the treatment of all conditions except infectious and contagious diseases. We have endeavored to make the conditions inside the house as pleasant as possible, and will try to give each patient individual attention." It is believed that it operated as the only osteopathic infirmary and the first osteopathic institution in the state of New York. In a time when osteopathic resorts were becoming popular, one advertisement read, "Not a fashionable resort, but a place to heal." Osteopathy is the system of medical practice that emphasizes a holistic and comprehensive approach to patient care. This includes the manipulation of muscle tissue and bones to promote healing. The bathhouse in the basement had a separate entrance. This made it accessible to the public without disturbing the residents of the clinic. The bathhouse touted hot and cold baths and electric baths. Now, the electric baths were actually something that we might equate to a tanning bed today. They used large bulbs to create UV light, and some of these bulbs have actually been found on the property during the preservation. It is believed that there were some types of electroshock baths that were being experimented with as well. And one newspaper article also reports that Dr. Freeman, the inventor of the lobotomy, also performed 7 of them in the house. Found that kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Both doctors had other offices in the area. Some were located in Olean and Hinsdale. In 1923, the city of Salamanca forced the doctors to turn the facility into a tuberculosis hospital. Though tuberculosis was not understood, it was quickly realized that it was an infectious disease. The standard treatment was cold, fresh air. This was accomplished by opening windows or putting patient chairs or beds outside on porches or in the yard. In this time period, 1 in 7 people died from the disease. The doctors operated the hospital until their deaths, both in 1941. The antibiotic that fought tuberculosis wasn't discovered until 1943. So they really didn't have a chance of healing people completely. So, the Henderson family owned the property until 1946. The history after this point is hard to find as well. It was converted into multiple apartments at one point with 2 separate addresses and 2 separate entrances. It sat abandoned for a time and fell into a state of disrepair. The roof was leaking and things were just deteriorating and falling apart. Jump forward in time with me to about the year 2016. Laurie Wagatha, a psychic and paranormal investigator, was pumping gas down the street when someone who knew about her interest asked if she had heard about the haunted house that was for sale. Having lived about 15 miles away in Napoli, she had never heard of the location. When she saw the house, she knew she had to own it. She knew that it would wipe out her savings account, but it is where her heart was. She got a call from the realtor one day saying, "If you aren't going to buy it, I'm going to have to list it next week." Apparently, there was somebody else who was interested in knocking the building down and redeveloping the land that it sat on. So that's all it took for her to take the plunge. Last Saturday, I had the pleasure of hearing the story from Lori in person. I spent about an hour with her as she showed me the house and told me the stories. When they first took possession of the property, the roof was so bad that one room had blue tarps over the roof, and on the floor were boards built up like a little pool that had a tarp lining them. It was a catch pool, and the rain would come in, they would catch that, and then pump it out the window. So really bad shape. Preservation of the property is important to Lori and her daughter, Brooke. Recently, to make sure the property stays in the family, Brooke has taken ownership so she can make sure the preservation and research continues. They offer history tours and paranormal investigations to help fund the expenses. And of course, I've forgotten to go through all my slides.
I was going to say, we didn't talk about this. Do you want me to move slides? I can handle that.
Well, so I'll just jump back through.
Right.
Yeah. So these are the two doctors.
Oh, sorry,
there's the early pictures of the sanatorium.
I got it. Okay.
So, early pictures of the sanatorium. Go ahead and jump to the next one. Current picture. Next one. There we go. Now we're caught up. The woman to the right is Lori, and I believe the woman to the left is her daughter. So this is a family picture of them in front of the house. And jump ahead one more. This is their website. Like I said, they offer history tours and paranormal investigations to help fund the expenses. Go ahead and jump one more. The house has a very unique energy to it because of the different things that have been there over the years, the apartments, the abandonment. I'm sure there were squatters there, all the different people who suffered from tuberculosis and other things. It's just got this mix of energy. So it's very unique. I'm not going to discuss what we found yet. I'm going to wait till next week for that, like I said earlier. But tonight I want to discuss what they have seen and what other paranormal investigators have experienced. I went through and took pictures of most of the rooms, and I'll share stories about what I found or what they found and what I know. So if you want to go ahead, if you want to keep going, if you want to jump to the next one. Yep. This is a radio that it was off the first floor room, sort of right off the hallway in the living room. The radio has an attachment to it that Lori believes is David, a guy named David. David was a friend of hers. The radio was not attached to the house itself. Again, a lot of these places bring things in, and that's what happened with this. The radio was brought in after David gave the radio to Lori one day. He said,
for those watching, Chad has a slightly slow connection tonight, so we may have a little spotty reception with him. So bear with us. Technical difficulties, please stand by. Hopefully. Come back, Chad. Come back. His hand looks really big as well. It's really funny. We may lose him here.
Nope, I think I'm back.
There you are.
So
I was explaining we might have technical difficulties due to slow speed tonight.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. The college kids are moving back, so I might.
That's true.
They might all be streaming this week.
Hopefully, they're watching us.
Yeah. So anyway, I think I got to about David was giving this to Lori, and she didn't think about anything about it at the time. But he's like, "I want you to have this. I don't want it to go to my family." The next day, he took his own life. So that's sort of she feels that he's attached to this. They've gotten the name David through spirit boxes and things like that. He actually lived with them for a while. So this was a really hard story for her to relay to us, or to me. But that's in that front room on the first floor. So if you want to jump to the next picture. This is at the top of the steps on the second floor. You sort of go up, and there's a hallway down the middle, and it goes to the right. This goes to the right. It's called Tommy's room. Tommy is a fairly young spirit that they've encountered. As you can see, people bring gifts for Tommy to play with. There's toys in there. Tommy, she didn't know anything about Tommy when she moved in, but as she started giving tours to people, she found out that Tommy lived in the house at one point after the clinics were there. She had 2 different clients who said that they went to school with Tommy. One said that at the end of the summer, or at the end of the summer, they came back and Tommy wasn't in school anymore. He had passed away, and they didn't know anything more about it. Then another client said to her that some of the kids had jumped in the river to go swimming, and 3 of them had drowned. So one of those sad stories where just in an instant things go wrong. But Tommy is said to haunt here. He will play with things. A lot of devices they get a lot of EVPs. They get a lot of things with K2 meters, things like that. So it's an interesting room. Again, I had a camera set up in this room the whole night, so we'll see what I got. I haven't actually had time to go through it, so hopefully, I had a camera and a tripwire in there the whole night. So we'll see. Okay. So if you want to jump to the next slide, this is the room across the hall from Tommy's room. Didn't really have any specific things in it other than they get a lot of things looking down that hallway. Because this is sort of a weird thing. There's not a hall on the other side of this. The steps sort of come up to it, and then this is the hallway through the whole house, through the rooms. Not typically what we would do these days with privacy issues, but I don't know why, but I was sort of drawn to that spinning wheel that's sitting in the corner. I did run a voice recorder in this room the whole time. So again, we'll see what I got. If you want to jump to the next slide.
Sure.
This room is what's called the seance room. They have it set up. The table has a crystal ball on it. It has candles. It has some other things, and you can't see it really well, but that chair in front of the window has a white lab coat on it, like a doctor's lab coat. And the other key piece in this room is this sand pendulum. So with the sand pendulum, it is constantly moving. Now, part of that is Earth's rotation will cause it to move, things like that. But there's and
we may have lost Chad again. Hang on, technical difficulties. Oh, you're back. Yeah,
I'm back. It wasn't
that bad.
Words will the word mom has come up 3 times in different experiences.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying that the word mom has been in the sand?
In the sand.
Wow.
And they've got pictures of it. I didn't take a picture. She had it on her phone. But there's also a picture. I think the one with red up there above the table is a greeting card that Jeremy, which I'll get into Jeremy's story, gave to his mom when he was younger. And the mom that has shown up in the sand and the mom on the greeting card look hauntingly the same. Like it's pretty.
I see what you did there.
See what I did there.
Yeah, I like that. That was good.
Like it's freaky. So
That's really interesting.
So Jeremy's story is Jeremy was an investigator who did a lot of work here. He and his brother had done quite a bit of investigations together. It was one of their favorite places to investigate. Jeremy also was struggling and took his own life. So that's the white lab coat there is sort of a tribute to him, just a memory for him. And that was about 2 years ago that he took his life, a little over 2 years ago. On the 2-year anniversary, his brother came in and did an experiment. And it's something I haven't heard of before, but he used a lot of moisture and humidity in the room to see if that would generate anything. And they've got a picture sort of if you look through that archway, sort of by that bed, they have a picture of something in that corner, white lab coat, black pants, which is what, again, Jeremy would typically wear, and a face that looks like his. So, in this area, there's a lot of discussion about Jeremy. There's a lot of just general spirits and things coming through here. So it's definitely interesting. Definitely got some vibes walking through it. I spent some time with David and Chris Mendez in this room with a spirit box sort of device that Chris will explain next week that he was using most of the time. Chris was doing a TikTok live most of the evening as well. So you can probably find that out there in the world somewhere. So if you want to jump to the next slide.
Will do.
Jamie, every house has to have one of them.
Oh, man, why?
This is it. This is it. This is the haunted doll room.
Let's just go with creepy doll room, okay?
Okay, we'll go with creepy doll room. So the story in here is, people bring, along with Tommy's room, people bring dolls for this room. They leave them, and she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do if people keep bringing dolls. I have so many of them, I'm running out of space.
Wait, they're along the ceiling too, right? Is that
they are?
Shelf?
They're up on that shelf above the window. You can't see it right inside the door where that piece of wood is. That's actually a bookshelf that is full of dolls as well.
No.
Okay. So the dolls will move. The dolls will be rearranged. And there's under that orange curtain, sort of up front, you see a doll with sort of blonde hair. Mm-hmm. It's on a rocking horse sort of thing. And it has a button in it that if you push the button, it makes noise and the eyes glow red and blah, 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 the typical creepy doll thing. And to make it activate, you have to push the button. Well, the doll will activate itself occasionally.
Of course it does. Why not?
So that's the story. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to get out of this room, we'll jump to the next. No, we won't. Sorry. She pointed this out to me. This is on the wall of the creepy doll room. This is what's called a mourning picture. And that's not mourning as in good morning. This is mourning as in mourning the loss of a baby, obviously. And you hadn't heard of this until I told you when we were meeting beforehand, right?
Nope, never saw this before.
So what this is the baby blanket that's with the baby, and the picture of the baby and the baby's actual hair. I guess they cut the hair and put it in with it. It was creepy. So, yeah.
I thought like bronzing baby shoes was weird. This takes it another level.
Yeah.
2 levels.
Yeah. So wow. I guess when you lose your baby, you want a memory of it somehow.
Of course. And there's nothing funny about that. I get it.
Right.
And obviously this is a very serious situation. But man, it's also very strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, feel free to jump ahead.
I'm gone. We're out of here.
All right. So this is moving upstairs. This is the bedroom at the end of the hall. Upstairs, they see a lot of shadow figures in this room and then down the hall. David, Andrew, and I spent some time up here towards the end of the night. So we'll see if we got anything up there. I did have a camera, I believe, up here pointing down the hall most of the night. Yes, I did, because the camera was actually under that seat, that bay window there, the seat there. The camera was under that seat shooting down the hallway.
Okay.
So we'll see what I got. Go ahead and jump to the next one. Yes, another.
This one we thought we were done with dolls. Thanks.
So this is looking down the length of the hallway. People experience things up here. Next week we'll talk a little bit about what it might be. Found some things about this hallway, and something I want Tim to dive into with us. Just some thoughts. But yes, there's another doll there. And then there's a picture of a baby above the doll in sort of the same sort of high chair. So yeah, can't
help but notice that.
Yeah. But again, this is a typical state of this house: peeling paint, splitting seams, things like that. So go ahead and jump to the next one. This is a room to the left as you're walking down this hallway towards that baby. This is the first room to the left. Sort of set up as what it might have looked like at the time, with a wheelchair. Interesting painting, like the walls are half painted and then splattered. Again, who knows when that was done, when people lived here, but definitely interesting.
It's a very early Jackson Pollock. Let's go with that.
Yeah. So yeah, just creepy, but beautiful views out the windows. And when this was running as a sanatorium, none of the houses that you see through the windows were there. It was just open land. Okay. They do have one lot to the right of them that's open still. And then there's cemeteries that you.
All right, the technical difficulty still. Chad, come back. What I thought was really interesting here, guys, just looking at these rooms too. First thing I noticed is this is not the only room that has this unique paint kind of. It looks like somebody just didn't have a ladder.
There I'm back.
Hey, you're back. I was filling here, but I was saying how it looks like this wall. And I noticed it was kind of in another room. Like somebody just didn't have a ladder, or a chair or something to stand on. This is as far as they could reach. And, okay, looks good. Maybe so. And, these windows are huge windows as well, which is really cool.
Yep.
And there's that in the other rooms as well, like the old style architecture of these houses. Today we don't find them this big.
Mm-hmm. And notice the trim above the windows there, how deep it is.
Oh yeah,
like it definitely stands out. That was actually around the doors and out in the hallway as well, so a space that nobody would really see had this ornate, beautiful trim.
Sure, that's a sign of the times. Mm-hmm. And it's some affluence as well. Although, there's an era here, where this was common in all the homes, especially houses this size. If we're going to build a house this big, you might as well make it ornate.
Yeah.
You're going all in anyway.
Yeah. I believe I saw a note somewhere that it was 3,500 square feet, not including the basement. And there is a bit of an attic above it, not really accessible, but 3,500 square feet is a lot of thing.
A lot of dusting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it was a single family home in its early stages, is the belief.
Okay.
So,
sure.
If you want to jump ahead to the next slide, this room is set up as a doctor's office. I don't, none of. let me preface this. None of the stuff in here is original. None of the furniture, none of this doctor's equipment, things like that is original. It's all been stuff that's been accumulated or dropped off or given, things like that. They are trying to find some pieces, but they haven't found a lot. As she can, she will find things and bring them in. I think she told me 1 or 2 pieces that she thought were original. But even though it's not original, it is a skeleton. It is a real skeleton. And you know how with a skeleton like this, if you bump it, the whole thing will move, right? Like the arm bone's connected to the shoulder bone.
Oh, sing the song, please. Sing the song.
You don't want that. She said they had one investigation where somebody was in and the arm was moving, but nothing else was moving. Like the leg below it wasn't moving, but the arm was just swinging back and forth.
And it's a suspended skeleton, right? It's not touching the floor. It's on some kind of hanger.
Yeah, it's on a hanger. It's got the hanger right up to the tailbone that sort of supports it, just like typical ones. And they do have some things in there, like some medicine, like showing the different medicines that they would have probably used at the time. I know Tim made a note of that after being up there, so maybe he can dig into that a little bit next week.
Okay.
But again, just this room's a lot smaller than some of the other rooms, so it's interesting how they go back and forth in scale and size. But it still has the trim, Yeah. So, go ahead and jump ahead. I don't know if I have any more. Nope. That's all the pictures I have. What I didn't get pictures of was there's a narrow living room that sort of runs the front half of the house. That went into a dining room that, again, bay windows. So the table was sort of set into the bay windows, back into a kitchen, a really small kitchen. And then that was one way of getting to the basement. The basement is where the bathhouse would have been. It had a separate covered entrance, so they could get in and go down there. There was another creepy display going down there of baby shoes. The baby shoes, she told me she found in her mother-in-law's attic. They weren't original to the house, but she thought that they looked good there. I mean, they did look good there, but a little creepy.
No.
And in the basement, not only was there a bathtub with some of the electroshock stuff sitting there, there was also a embalming table, autopsy table down in that area as well. Some of the stories are down there are a black shadow figure walking across behind the one doorway. So if you sit out in the room where the tubs were, there was an area there that wall that you could see a figure walking. Of course, I set up a camera there, so we'll see what I find next week.
Okay.
Upstairs, there is an attic. We did not go into the attic. It's not really accessible. There's a step ladder leaning up against a wall, and then if you did get into the attic, it's sort of in a closet up against the wall. Like it would have been a treat to get up there. And then there's no flooring in the attic. It's just, it's the typical just studs. The old 2x4 true thick studs. So it is pretty cool. She said the view from up there is gorgeous. Like you can look out and see miles. So they're hoping to get a floor and a better access way up so people can get up there at some point. Let's see. Then there was another room. Not sure what it would have been. It was really weird because it was just this doorway that went into like a 4x6 room. And the one wall was sort of broken down to expose a chimney, but the chimney ended inside the room. It didn't go up through the roof. And looking at the roof, it didn't look like it had ever gone up through the roof. So I don't know if it was somebody did a really good job of making it look like the old timber, or if maybe there was a pipe that came out of it and went at an angle or something. but it was just really weird to see this chimney dead end in this room.
Gotcha. Well, that could be a situation like White Hill, where on the third floor on the far left side of the building, the end of the building, there's the cistern.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a water collector, and there's no obvious way that the water comes in anymore. But you look outside, and you
Right.
see the spouting kind of comes to that spot, and someone just closed it off at some point.
Right.
There's probably something. It's not that's too much of an effort to put that in there without it having been practical
Right.
use.
Right. Yeah. Especially in that time period, they chimneys were. That's how you heated the house. So.
Yeah. Right. That's the joy of an old house too. The mysteries
Mm-hmm.
of it.
Mm-hmm.
Modernization go out of play.
As you can see, they've got scaffolding and ladders and stuff all over this house. There.
It looks like a total restoration project. All right, Chad will probably come back to us here. I think this camera angle is really interesting too, because it clearly shows that there's some open space to the right of the house. I'm assuming there's properties to the left, probably somebody behind, but it gives it that feel of what it would have had as a sanatorium, with people being able to get outside, especially the tuberculosis access point, getting people outside and aeration, to clear out their lungs, and that would be enough. Not knowing really what it was, the severity of it at the time, but you see images of these places through the years. Now they have people out just kind of strolling the lawn, and they're perhaps in a wheelchair, someone in a white jacket walking with them. It has that feel, has that unique feel about it. It's really cool.
So, as I was saying,
sorry, I was filling. Sorry,
no, I appreciate it. And I'm.
Oh no.
And this is how it goes.
Yeah. Hey.
As I was saying, our team didn't take this option, but if you book the house to investigate, you can sleep in the house overnight. So if you basically get it from just like a hotel, 7 or whenever you check in to 10 o'clock the next morning, and she's had teams that didn't realize that, and they're like, well, we're going to stay. Like, they start investigating, and then they're going to stay. Some of the general things that, she's gotten teams that are sort of new and haven't done a lot of this, and they get the voice EVPs going, get out. There's apparently there's two grumpy old men on the third floor that they get a lot of telling them to get out, things like that. She's getting people from all over the world. Her furthest guest has been Singapore. She had a family from Singapore come and visit. And I think that's what she enjoys the most about doing this project, other than restoring it, is just meeting the people, and sitting and talking to them and telling them stories. She's really, really nice person to talk to and listen to and get the information from. So
that's cool.
So
yeah, that's the thing. And there are plenty of shows out there, right? Whether they're broadcast shows on mainstream entertainment, or web shows and YouTubers and all this stuff. But they're paranormal investigators all over the world.
mm-hmm.
And we might not all speak the same language, but we all have the same intention, I think, of just trying to figure things out. And ghosts don't know languages. It happens. Spirits happen everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just so very cool. And like to get around the world a little bit too and see some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a place it's a great landing spot.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, we hit Hinsdale House, we hit this house, but my understanding there's several more in the area up there. There's a theater on the corner of Main Street and I believe Wildwood Avenue that's supposed to be haunted.
Well, how big is this town? I don't know. I don't know this. I know a little bit being up at Hinsdale, but not to this place.
Salamanca is not a huge town. It's one of those that's sort of sprawled a little bit over time. It is part of the Seneca Indian Reservation. Like some of the land that it is on is part of that. The Iroquois National Headquarters is located in Salamanca, as is the Iroquois Casino. One of the casinos. There's a big casino at the end of the strip. I mean, and when I say strip, it's not a big strip. It's just
sure.
a little town.
Yeah.
There are a lot of dispensaries. Every other building seemed to be a dispensary, so that made life interesting as you're driving down the street. What else? Gas was very cheap in Salamanca. It was $1 cheaper a gallon than it was in Olean, where I filled up because I didn't know, and wish I had waited a day, or waited an hour until I drove out there. But again, that has to do with the being on the Seneca land and taxes and things like that. A lot of mobile doctors still. I saw a couple mobile doctor units that would go visit the Native Americans. And actually was listening to somebody explain that to another tourist who was asking questions. So that was interesting. There's also a big antiques mall in Salamanca. It's one of these that you go in and it's huge. Like I went in, and if antiquing is your thing, you could spend probably 2 days there till you looked at everything. I spent about 20 minutes because it's not my thing. so yeah. Yeah, like I said, an interesting area. Very, very depressed area though. Not rich, not, it's definitely, there's some higher ends of the town, but there's a lot of old buildings, old, just run down things. But it's a mix. It's interesting. So
that's kind of the case with a lot of rural communities anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to have your blend. There's still a main street then that that has like the primary stuff, shopping and all that stuff. So it's always going to be the core, and then of course places like the casino is going to be a nice draw for employment opportunities, but also for tourism and travel folks coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. Well, I'm not going to put the cart in front of the horse here, because we're going to do a reveal next week. But I'm have to ask, what do you think? Haunted, not haunted? Want to hold until after reveal?
Well, how about we go with what my gut feeling was going, doing the research and stuff like that. The stories that I was told. I went in and I would say it's haunted.
Okay.
I mean, like you said, it's got or like Tim said, it's got the Herman Munster look. It's definitely got the vibe. When I walked in, just walking through the building, you know how you get chills sometimes, Jamie, when doing this sort of thing.
Yeah.
There was one point where I got chills from my knees down, walking through Tommy's room.
Okay.
So it's sort of fit, for a child. Different other rooms that I had a vibe in. So yeah, I would say haunted. I mean, from the stories you've heard, and what would you agree with that?
Well, and here's the thing. I don't know much about it. We learned of it last year when we were in Hinsdale, or 2 years ago. I'm sorry, when we were in Hinsdale, and we didn't have time, or we didn't have the opportunity either way to get to this property. Right. So I didn't, I kind of got out of sight, out of mind, and then I didn't make the trip, so I didn't dig in too deeply, other than just a quick surface Google, search for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a whole lot to go on other than the information you've shared here,
right,
and the stories of the owner and so forth. So I'm still on the fence.
Okay.
And I think I believe in the paranormal. I don't think that's a secret to anybody, but I also want to see evidence. I want to see, I want more than just a story. So I'm really looking forward to next week's episode, where we're going to have the reveal, of everybody's collected material. And I've already seen a few teases that stuff was captured in a conversation, offline conversation with Melissa earlier. So I know we've got stuff, and then this is the challenge, coming out of every investigation, of the time it takes to go through all the hours. If every device that's running for an hour is an hour you have to spend reviewing it.
Yeah.
So,
what did she say? She's like
18 hours or something.
She has 18 hours of audio and video, and I have probably at least that much.
Yeah, I don't envy anybody doing this. We've all done it, and we all continue to do it. So
yeah. But the nice thing about doing this show is, what's that?
I really just like to see, something that in the moment, because like I said, it looks like a haunted house. I want to start there and believe that, but this could just be an old house.
The nice thing about the show is, I'm being forced to go through my evidence. Like,
it's true.
Like, it's like, oh, I have a deadline. I can't just let it sit on the shelf until I have time, because we know that would never happen.
Well, I know, right?
So,
between life work and kids and their obligations. Yeah, I guess absolutely.
But it was a good trip. I do want to dig into this property a little bit more. I didn't take in as much time as I want to research the property. So I want to see if I can find some more of the history.
Sure.
I mean, it may mean another trip up there and going to the historical society and doing some actual, paper research. But I would like to see if I can find some more stuff about this.
That's one thing. That's one thing that I can say, that having the advantage of being the house team at Booby's Brewery. We our first year, was basically just trying to capture and collect evidence in the space, but also doing the backside, research. And how much there's so much information that we were able to find through historical records and documentation, that even the owner, Sam, the owner, didn't know about.
Right.
That we brought to him. That's now in the story of the property. And you mentioned early on, the gaps that are there, in the historical record of ownership and transitions and things. I bet there'd be some surprising stuff that's just not lost to history, but just not obvious to history.
Right.
Like, you have to look,
right.
Because these records are not, they're kept, for a reason.
Right.
So I think it's really, that's a cool idea. And I hope opportunity allows for it to happen.
So we may do another episode down the road on Wildwood Sanitarium again, and with more and corrected information. So, cool. And with Boobies, I think I mentioned to you offline at one point. I was doing some of this research. I got a newspaper archive subscription. So
yes.
I'm starting to, when I have some time, I type the word boobies in spelled correctly so I don't get weird things. And, I'm finding bits and pieces that, just little stories, because, the newspapers would talk about when Aloise went to Pittsburgh for 3 days. Just little things like that. That's like he went for business. About the wagon driver who ran into a tree because the horses got away from him while delivering beer and had to go on a different day. It's just the little things like that we wouldn't think of as newspaper articles, but that's what was news at the time. So,
well, it's a slow news day, right? So
yeah,
that's all.
So anyway, that's the story on Wildwood. Like I said, next week we'll go over the evidence. Reach out. I think I have another picture coming up here of the their website. You got it.
Sorry.
Yep, it's fine. Their website, QR code to their website. Check them out. She'd be happy to hear from you. History tour, investigation, whatever. I believe the Hinsdale House and this can be booked together because there's a partnership there of some sort. Okay. I would say reach out to Daniel. How do you say it?
Glass.
If you're interested in that, I think he's the one who sort of coordinates those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're 20 miles apart from each other, maybe.
That's great. That's a great weekend.
Yeah.
Anytime you can double dip different investigations like this.
Yeah.
And you get to stay. That's the best part, right? It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, she's had people who've wanted to stay, and then she's had people who wanted to get out as soon as they
Well, you see those dolls and they just went out of the house, right?
Uh-huh. So, and I think it's the same way with Hinsdale. I believe you can stay at Hinsdale as well. So
I think that's true. Yeah.
So they both have running water, which is a great, because some of these places have not. So,
True.
So
that's using my determination on when to stay or when to go, right?
Exactly. So that's about all I've got for this, Jamie. So if you want to,
yeah, let's wrap the episode then, and then do a little bit of the outro stuff we usually do.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know what that slide is.
There's a blank one there. Here you go.
That's all right. That was a teaser. So we got upcoming events this Saturday. We are back at the brewery in Mountjoy. There are tickets still available for that, and at staverstub.com. And certainly come and join us. We'll teach you, if you don't know how to do this paranormal thing. You can use our equipment. We'll teach you the tactics and trades of how to be a good paranormal investigator, and then you can go on your own and go explore somewhere else. But the brewery has been quite active lately, so we encourage you to come join us. We have a little bit of a break on the weekend of the 25th, 26th, but then the Labor Day weekend, we are off to Red Mill Museum Village. There are a few tickets to this left as well, but it's going quickly. That is a special event. We have a slide here in a second for that. I'll get to it. But coming back again then in September, 2 events at the brewery on the 9th and the 30th. And September 30th is a big day. It's it's called National Ghost Hunting Day. But it is the world's largest ghost hunt, which is a coordinated event across the globe with investigations all over the place. So it's a special day. Hopefully we'll do some fun stuff that night. And hope to see you guys somewhere at one of these events along the way. And then next episode, as we mentioned, is going to be a reveal for the evidence of both. We're calling it the New York trip, but both the Hinsdale House and also Wildwood Sanatorium. So we'll have all the investigators who were there, at least everyone who can join us that night, next Tuesday evening at 9:30. Join us and kind of give us their evidence that they've caught and some of the anecdotal things they experienced. So very much like what we did with White Hill a few weeks ago. So hopefully you can join us there. That's going to be pretty cool.
And you're going to mediate that one, right, Jim?
I am. Yeah, I'm the one who wasn't there, so I'll facilitate the conversation around it. But I really want to hear from everybody and really get to dig into the experiences that everyone had. Because there's nothing like hearing right from the folks who were there in the space. That's so cool. I'm glad you got to do the tour in advance to get those nice setup pictures as well. It really helps paint the picture, even though the walls weren't painted. But paints the picture of the establishment, because it's different. Everything's different in the daylight. We do this at night, and I could say this from a couple different places we've gotten to go to. You and I took the tour at West Virginia Penitentiary, in the daytime, and that place looks uniquely different at night. The feel is different, and the darkness does that, right? But there are other establishments and places we've gotten to go to where it's nice to be able to get a walkthrough in advance of it, and in a little bit it's guided, so you get that nice kind of commentary from someone who's associated with the place. But it really is best to see it so you get a feel for where you're going to go, what you're going to do. You start laying out your evening investigation plan, in the daytime.
Right.
It's always, and I can't say this enough. You have to go into an investigation with a plan. Otherwise it's just scattershot, and people are stepping on each other, crossing over each other, making noises that are contaminating evidence.
Right.
And it's just bad, it's just a bad tactic. So investigators out there, obviously who bat this well know this, but having that visible time in advance really helps set up the stage for the rest of the time for success.
And places like the penitentiary, you can get shut in a cell.
Yeah, it's true. That was fun.
Interesting is a better word.
Yeah, that was a scared straight moment, I'll tell you. No, thank you. The only thing that made it worse if there were dolls in the cells with us.
True.
No. All right, moving on. Here's information.
Jumping back to that last slide. It was a last minute discussion, but we are going to the August 29th, we're going to talk about Red Mill, right?
Yeah, well, I'm going to get there. I will. I promise.
Okay.
I promise. It's going to talk about Red Mill first, and then we'll get there.
Got
so
it.
Here's the material for Red Mill, the information about it. So it's JOTT-NYX. It's JOTT-NYX Paranormal. It's JOTT-NYX New Jersey. It is Daryl Marston from Ghost Hunters. It is Ron and Lourdes, and our friend Chris Mendez. There's a lot of us there. Like a lot of people who are going to lead groups and events throughout the evening. We're going to pause somewhere around the middle, do a little bit of bonfire, tell some ghost stories. Have some fun with that. Maybe some s'more action. So it is really cool. So hopefully, if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, there's still enough left. But it is a capped event, so tickets are running out. So please, come join us to set up that on the 29th, 2 weeks from tonight. We will do an episode on the Red Mill and set up the stage. Set the stage for what to expect over the weekend. And then, of course, after the fact, come back and do a reveal episode once we have time to go through the evidence. And it takes time. Every minute we spend with something on, we have to that minute has to get reviewed. So bear with us. And we don't have a production crew to go and help us with any of this stuff either. So
this one, there's a lot of buildings, a lot of places to explore. So it's going to take some definite time.
Yeah, this is a big place with a lot of ground to cover. So, but it's a really cool place as well. So, and help come out. And the part of the proceeds of this event help with the restoration and upkeep of the mill and allow it to keep in operation as well. So it is a great historical property. Mm-hmm. All right. And the usual stuff to find us. Obviously, you found us here on Facebook or YouTube, but we're also out there on Instagram, and our TikTok is happening. So I highly encourage folks to check that out. New content is being added there all the time. We'll leave it with, some of our team members are very, very creative and have been putting some fun stuff out there. And also some of it's in conjunction with Boobish Brewery, who's got a great marketing team as well. Mm-hmm. Some of the content they've been doing lately, it's a lot of fun. So
did you hear the news about our TikTok, Jamie?
We're over 100 followers.
We have 101 followers the other night. So yeah,
I'm gonna go with that's good. Because then we had like 12, a couple weeks ago. So thanks for everybody who's following us out there.
Yeah.
And, hopefully,
and a shout out to Courtney and Kirsten for jumping on that and running with it. And Matt for getting it set up, but Courtney and Kirsten have taken it and they're running with it, and we appreciate that.
Without a doubt, it's super creative stuff they've been doing. It's a lot of fun. It's been fun watching it, and I know they're having fun making it. So, and thanks for everybody who's participating in it and keep sharing it and spreading it around. Spread the love, if you will. And let me see what else we got. I think it might be it. That's it. We're done.
Hey, actually we are, but we just got a message from.
So you gonna jump on that?
Yeah, my friend John Covey is co-hosting a show on Thursday with Jody, Jody Nettles, I believe.
I can't blame technical difficulties for this one.
No. And Melissa and Jerry will be on the show. I think it's Crossroads. I can't remember if that's the name of it.
Yeah, John, if you're still with us, John, can you drop in a link or an address to find the episode? Give it a second or two.
And if he doesn't, I'm pretty sure Jerry and Melissa have posted on our Facebook page the link to it. So
perfect.
Check it out there. But John, thanks for bringing that up. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So
it looks like I think it's 8:30 if I'm not mistaken as well.
Yep.
I did see that post. I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. It's been a whirlwind of a couple of days here. But it looks like it's going to be a fun episode. Mm-hmm. And anytime Jerry and Melissa get out there, it's always interesting what they're going to say next. So
yep. So.
And very cool.
So
okay, Mr. Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. Other than stay spooky, that whole thing. I'm not going to the other one. I'm not.
Nope.
We'll leave that one for Dave when he comes back.
That's right. This was a cool episode. Thank you for all the work you put into it and the experience. I'm really looking forward to next week and digging into this, this really cool place and get the consensus of haunted, not haunted, from all of y'all who were on the ground. So it's very cool. All right. Well, until then, everybody stay safe out there. Stay spooky, as Chad said. Drop us a note if you want to engage with anything. If there's anything you feel we should be covering on one of these episodes, we have a lot of content in mind, but if there's something y'all want to see or hear about or dig into, let us know and we'll pursue it. So
yeah. And if you want to join us, if you've had an experience you want to come on and talk about, we're more than happy to make that happen. So
and we're pretty easy here. So no problem there.
So all right.
Well, Chad, I'll see you next week.
All right. Sounds good, Jamie. I'm going to roll the credits.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Yep. See you later. Bye.